Awesome. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're calling in from. I'm really very excited today. I have an amazing guest with me for this recording, Dr. Judith Orogun. I'm going to give you a very quick bio just so you get to know a bit about her. So Dr. Judith Orogun has been in higher education for the past 25 plus years. Awesome. She holds a Bachelor of Education in English from the University of Benin, a Master's of Arts in English from the University of Lagos, Nigeria, and a Doctor of Education from Nova Southeastern University, Florida, USA. Great. With emphasis on curriculum development and systemic change. She is often known to say that motherhood and teacherhood interact seamlessly for her. She's a happy wife, mother of 3 young adults, and a happy curriculum and program quality consultant. Wow. Thank you very much, Dr. Judith, for taking the time to be part of this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Glad to be here with you today.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so let's jump in. And do you mind sharing with us your backstory, especially as immigrant to the country, and just find out to your let me just call it your immigration story, right? And then you highlight
Oh, what kind have we got?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to probably make it brief. Originally, I was born Nigerian, raised, educated in Nigeria. Migrated to Jamaica many years ago. So we are naturalized Jamaicans. Very happy in Jamaica, I might add.
Nice.
There for like 18 years plus.
Wow.
And then sometime around 2010, when our oldest son was in final year in high school in Jamaica, we kind of talked through options for further studies. And it seemed at the time as if Canada would be a good fit. So at the time, I was a lecturer at the University of Technology in Kingston in Jamaica.
Wow. So
we started the process of applying to come to Canada through the skilled workers program because we felt that would be better than coming here as, or sending our children here as foreign students because the fees can be really, really much.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not sure how much you know about the skilled workers process, but it is extremely rigorous. It literally captures every detail about your life, wherever you have lived or worked since you were 18, and you're providing not just dates, but addresses, confirmations, right? So everywhere you've lived for more than 6 months from you were 18 years has to be captured on that form.
Wow.
And so every evidence is submitted and verified. Now, after submitting everything and paying the necessary fees for the entire family, you literally just have to wait because there's no way of checking at what stage your application was, at least at the time we applied, which is like 11 years ago. I don't know if that has changed now. And you just have to wait for the Canadian High Commission to respond to you. So like I said, we applied in 2010. And then one day in 2012, I was teaching one of my classes at the University of Technology in Jamaica, and I got a phone call. Usually I don't answer my calls during my classes because my students and I agree that we don't answer calls. But I saw that this call was coming from the Canadian High Commission, so I took permission from my students and I answered. And the caller said they needed us to provide another update because it was coming to my son's 18th birthday and he would age out and have to apply on his own, but we'd applied since he was 15.
Right.
So I submitted all of what they asked for, right? Now, interesting, at that time, my oldest son was already at the University of Technology where I was teaching. Our other son was in 4th form, which is equivalent of 10th grade in Canada. And our youngest had just gotten into 1st form, which is 7th grade.
Okay.
I was enjoying my job as a lecturer at the University of Technology. My husband was enjoying his job as a travel consultant.
Nice.
It's fair to say we were really quite happy and established in Jamaica. So in order not to disrupt our children's education, although we were approved in November of 2012, we decided that we would not come until the summer of 2013 so that they would all finish out their school year.
Right.
So my husband and I decided I would keep my job as a lecturer at the University of Technology in the Faculty of Education and Liberal Studies, because we weren't sure what the Canadian work landscape held for us. Okay. Now, for the skilled workers program, your profession has to be approved. You have to have certain points for your profession. So mine was approved, right? So you would think that you just come here and get a job because you scored so high on this thing, meaning that your profession was needed.
Yeah.
Right. However, when we landed, it wasn't that smooth flowing, right? So I want to probably say at this point that I cannot begin to appreciate my husband for this terrific support that he was, because we both agreed that he will stay with the children and I will go back to my job in Jamaica, because in the 8 weeks or so that I stayed on job search, nothing looked like it was going to be promising.
Wow.
So we decided that I shouldn't resign. So I went back to Jamaica, and approximately every 6 weeks, I would come to Canada for 10 days with the family.
Wow.
Sometimes I was teaching my master's classes online from Canada. I'll be flying and marking scripts. But we both agreed that the children's stability was worth the sacrifice. So as you can imagine, after a while, this began to take toll on my health. Because I was in Jamaica alone, commuting back and forth for the whole of fall of 2013 and the calendar year of 2014. I was literally coming every 6 weeks for 10 days and heading back to Jamaica. And then in 2014, the chikungunya virus affected Jamaica. This was a mosquito-borne disease. I mean, it affected the whole of South America and the Caribbean. But I got it and I became very sick, and I was alone in Jamaica. And after a while, we both realized that this was not tenable anymore. Right? It was taking its toll on my health. My children were missing me. My husband was missing me. My job didn't suffer because I'm a passionate educator, but my health suffered. Right? So after contracting the virus and I became really sick, eventually I had to take sick leave from work. I came to Canada finally in December of 2014. I worked with HR and I was given sick leave for a few months, 6 months for a start. Extended to a year, and I thought, this is not working. I just go and give up this position to someone else to get my job permanently. Now, you had asked that I should spotlight areas of my career, right? Navigating a new country, a new climate, a new culture, and a new employment terrain was not easy, to say the least. Okay, so I'm an educator by training. I had at least 18 years experience in higher ed. So I'd worked at the community college in Jamaica and then at the University of Technology. And so when I was hunting in Canada, I was looking for higher ed jobs, right? Like, I'm a professor, I can teach, I can research, you know what I mean? So we reach out to all these places and I was like, oh, design a curriculum for so-and-so. I wrote curriculum for a few universities and you submit it, and afterwards you will hear that, oh, well, according to our collective bargaining agreement, somebody internal wanted the job, so they got it. Thank you for your interest. So after a while, I'm like, this is not working, right? So eventually, I got to a point where we signed up for Employment Canada services. So Welcome Canada does have support for newly landed immigrants. I'll give them credit for that.
Nice.
What I found challenging was they started requesting that you go and validate your credentials. Now, we did all of this in the application process. We were approved because we had done all of this. Right? You say to yourself, why do I need to do all of that again? I got my PhD from the US. What? The transcripts came directly from the university. What more do you want? So it felt as if there were a few unwritten hurdles that you had to scale over. I signed up for a mentorship program, which was fabulous because they put me in touch with a professor from, I think it was Seneca College. Helped me refine my resume, highlight what is needed, how to job search, how to network in higher ed circles.
Right.
So that was good. But I think what made it extra painful for me was a certain dissatisfaction that we were told we were welcome, but the actions didn't quite show that you were welcome. Right?
Because they asked for those extra things.
Yes, and the way it was asked for. So at one point, they wanted my children to provide, they wanted us to provide evidence of English language.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, I have a degree in English language too.
I know.
My children, they were taught and raised in English.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and I don't fault the system. I just felt like it was so broad that exceptions could have been made that would make the decision easier.
Right,
okay?
right.
Anyway, so this professor at Seneca really helped me. We will meet one-on-one and go through interviewing skills. He even told me expectations of remuneration. So he says, don't let anyone take advantage of you. With your qualification and experience, this is the kind of money you should be looking at.
Wow, that's awesome.
Right? That was really awesome. He gave me his time and his attention. And so when I want to apply to something, I was saying to him, what do you think about this? And that was a fantastic program. So that support I got, right?
That's great.
So luckily for me, I was still teaching online for the University of the West Indies, open campus.
Oh, nice.
So I felt like intellectually, I was still engaged in the pedagogy of higher ed.
Right.
I didn't want to be rustic. Because after a while, and if there are any newcomers listening to me, it can get very frustrating if you forget who you are and why you are here.
Right.
So at points, my husband and I will remind ourselves that we made this move because of the children. So we're just going to stick it out. And it meant that my health, which was really challenging at the time, had to receive some attention. So occasionally I would say to myself, maybe God wants me to concentrate on getting well before I get a job. So that long hiatus of not getting a job was not as frustrating as it could have been if I was totally ready, if you know what I mean, right? But then our finances were dwindling because for you to come, you have to qualify, you have to come with a certain amount of money, which we landed with, right? But then we did not want to live in any, and forgive me if I use this language, we did not want to live in any substandard accommodation because by the grace of God, we were coming from a place of comfort in Jamaica and we did not want our children to feel like they had to step back down in life because we came to Canada. So we were there navigating their mental health to be sure that they were happy. And my husband and I were taking the fall for most of the discomfort because we did not want to interfere with our children's stability. We already uprooted them from their home country to a foreign land. We did not want to make it more complicated for them, right? So eventually though, let me cut this short so I don't keep you waiting.
I know it's fine.
By August of 2015, I told you I finally came in December of 2014. By August of 2015, this was 8 months, I was like, yeah, I don't have a job. I'm getting frustrated. I was wondering, was it a mistake to have resigned from the University of Technology, Jamaica? Should I have just remained in Jamaica and battle this out? But it wasn't tenable anymore for me to just leave my husband and children and be working. So I was still teaching for the University of West Indies online. And I thought, I just wanted an opportunity to interact with the regular average Canadian. I didn't want to be isolated anymore. So one day, believe it or not, and I'm not even sure all of my family knows this yet. My extended family, that's right. So one morning I woke up and I was just searching for any job.
Mm.
And I saw that there were openings for a supermarket chain.
Oh, okay.
Close to where we lived in Whitby at the time in Ontario.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I applied online for the job of a cashier, believe it or not.
Mm.
So of course, in my resume, I didn't say anything about a doctorate or a master's degree because I felt if you put all of this, they're not going to employ you. I wanted to be able to get out of the house and do something. So after I'm applying online, something said to me, take a resume to the store. It was like 7 minutes from our home at the time.
Nice.
So the next day I said to my husband, something just says I should take this there. He says, okay, let's go. I saw a nice, cheerful young lady at the front. And I said, may I speak to the manager? She says, oh, what is it about? I said, I saw a job online. I applied yesterday, but I just felt like I should give a resume in person. She says, oh, thank you so much. That makes such a difference. We have over 200 applications. And being able to put a face to you would definitely make a difference. Wow. I found out later that was the manager.
Oh, yeah? Wow.
So she took it. Of course, she had met me. So the next day I was called up to see if I was interested. And I said, yes. So I went. My son reminded me later that the day I said yes to that job, I said to my family, my children, I will not do this for more than a year unless I choose to. Don't ask me where that came from, but that was what I said.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, 8 months into that job, I landed my dream job of curriculum development specialist, which is my specialization.
That's amazing.
And there were two things that did for me. One is that there is power in the word. So I said I will not be there for more than a year. I did not know what plans God had. I didn't know how anything would shape up. But I was like, I'm just going to do this because I want to get out of the house and get into the Canadian space. She was like, Mom, you won't be able to survive. You have to stand so long. And I'm like, it's okay. And because my health wasn't exactly what it could have been, they had cause to worry. And there were days I came back from work aching like crazy. I couldn't even climb up the steps. It was that bad. But I share this because if there are other newcomers who are watching this, a lot of people come and they're so frustrated they go back home. There is nothing in life that you achieve without going through your trying period. What is important is that you stay focused on the why. Why did we come? We came because we wanted our children to have easier access to affordable education. And because that was behind our minds, the discomfort we could deal with. Right? Yeah. If it was about me and my husband's comfort, we would have gone back. Where we landed was one of the most horrible winters on record, 2013, where we even, one day in Ajax, we had a loud explosion, which we later told was an underground, what did they call it? Something, was it frostquake? I'd never heard that word before. Right? It was the most horrible winter anyone had experienced that we knew. So there were reasons that would have just said we're going back home. Yeah. But because we stayed, I believe God's hand was in it. So in April of 2016, so I started this job in August. In April of the following year, which is like 8 months, I saw this opening at Mohawk College in Hamilton. Nice. We were living at Whitby. So if you know the distance, Whitby is like an hour east of Toronto, and Hamilton is probably an hour plus west of Toronto. So my commute was about 2 hours one way. Going to work, but it was in higher ed and it was in my area of specialization, so I was excited. It was temporary, it was a 1-year contract, but I just wanted my foot in the door. I just wanted a foot in. So at one point, because the way it works in Canada, you at least that's what we were told at the employment services, that you doctor your resume to reflect the skills that are requested in the job. Right? Yeah. So I was able to hone my skills. I had done curriculum development at the University of Technology and even at the Successor College where I was before then. I was able to I fit into everything that this job wanted. And it was a 1-year contract. I'm like, I am going. So halfway into the job, human beings, I started reflecting on what people would say. Oh, it takes 5 to 10 years for you to get into your profession in Canada. Oh, you have to do your survival jobs. And guess what? A lot of people get stuck in those survival jobs. And it leads to discontent for families. In some cases, it's even led to breakdown of family life, because some people feel like, I can't come and live a substandard life. I'm going back home. But then what happens to the children that you had already picked up and come here and now you have to take back? So all those kind of things. So I just wanted to bring in the parent angle to the professional one.
Yeah.
That as a parent, it wasn't just about me. What was comfortable for me is what was comfortable for my children. So when I got the job, I chose to commute, because if we moved the children to Hamilton so that I could go to work more comfortably, that would be another disruption, because we moved them from Jamaica to Whitby. Now we're going to move them again, right?
Yeah.
So I commuted. After a while, I rented a basement apartment. I will stay in Hamilton Monday to Friday and then go back for weekend.
Oh my God.
But at the end of that contract year, towards the end, I was becoming a bit apprehensive. Oh God, I'm going to go back to being unemployed again. So I started looking. But because I now was in higher ed, there were opportunities at other colleges and universities. So once you're in, you get to see many more opportunities.
Right.
So if it's a 3-month contract, I will encourage anyone listening to me now, take it into your profession.
Right.
Whatever you get, just get a foot into the door. Another thing that would be of value is humility and the ability to take advice. When you're counseled, take it seriously. But take every counsel with a pinch of salt. I find that people will counsel you from their own experience.
Yeah.
So they say, oh, don't even expect any job. It's impossible to get it. Well, that's your story. For me, I told everyone, and I don't know why, I said within 2 years, I believe that God will get me into my profession.
Awesome.
And all of this happened. So that speaks to the power of the tongue and also our mindset.
Right.
So that will probably be a story for another day. But after I got the job at Mohawk, my oldest son reminded me, Mommy, do you remember you said you will not do this job of a cashier for more than a year unless you choose?
Yes, sir.
And by the grace of God, I didn't. But I'm in my profession and loving every bit of it.
Nice.
Because I think I'm a teacher. Thank God be praised.
Whew. Wow, that's like part 1, part 2, everything. I'm
like, are you sure you asked me that question?
No, man, that was really just amazing. I think it answered a lot of questions, which I think would hopefully get a chance to touch a little bit on as well, just like in passing. But yeah, that was really very awesome. Getting to know about not only your professional but your personal, because everything I believe is all intertwined. We have just one life, right? So yeah, exactly. Thank you so much for sharing all of those. And you talked about something interesting. Part of the program. I believe you're talking about the PR program, right? The PR.
Well, the one that we came with was called the Skilled Workers Program, but that grants you the PR from your home country, so you can just land as a permanent resident. Yes.
Yeah. I know, I think even at this point, they still require certain people from certain countries to take, the English test, and a lot of people have, complained about it, but it is what it is. But
yes, and so for me, if we had known that, these are so for anyone who's listening, if you're interested in this.
All right, awesome, sounds good. So when it comes to, like the obstacles you face, I know you kind of touched a little bit, but how about we just outline what you think were the 3 top obstacles you faced in the course of, landing that dream position you mentioned?
Okay, so I probably would simply itemize them as 1.
Okay.
Lack of Canadian experience.
Okay.
Because almost every job in higher ed that you find will tell you 3 to 5 years experience, and that's Canadian experience. It did not matter that I had 18 years experience from Jamaica in higher ed, right? So lack of Canadian experience was an obstacle.
Okay.
Another would be inadequate local exposure. So, or networking opportunities. So things like, once you get into the system, you will realize that there are more opportunities to either rise or move, right? But once you do not have that exposure, then you're not even sure how to get in, what opportunities exist. So inadequate local exposure.
That's like, you mean like having like insider information, right? Okay.
Yes. So if you're able to network with some professionals from your home country that you knew, or people that you've met at conferences before. So there were Canadians that I'd met at various conferences. Mm-hmm. For me, unfortunately, most of them were in the West Coast, in BC, and I didn't want to go that far because we wanted to be close enough to Toronto. So if we had to go back to Jamaica or go anywhere, we'll have closer access. So most of my contacts were in the West, and we didn't want to go that far. So inadequate local exposure and inadequate network. Mm-hmm. And also, I find, and this may be subjective, there seem to have been some silent unwritten roadblocks. Mm. And these you probably would just have to take as it comes. Mm. Right? At one point, one of my friends who had migrated like 5 years ahead of us said to me, stop writing curriculum for positions that request it. So they might say, if you're going to teach this, how would you, right? So you will just do a very brief curriculum thing. And she said, they're going to take it and use it and not give you the job. Mm. I felt a bit sad, but I also believe that it opened my eyes to some unwritten roadblocks that I would otherwise not know. Mm. Or whether it is true that they used it and just didn't give me the job, I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I felt like there were some unwritten roadblocks that you can't feel, it's not there in the job ad. Right. And sometimes you feel like some positions are just advertised for the sake of it, but they really don't want to take people that they have already taken. Oh. So they're just kind of subtle unwritten roadblocks is what I call them. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's quite interesting. So the first point you made about Canadian experience, I think that's a very common thing. I did like a survey some time ago just to have an idea, and I think about 90% of people, mentioned, okay, this was a big issue that I faced moving into the country. So, like in your own ways, looking at those points that you mentioned, what would you say are some of the actions you took to address them? The Canadian experience, the one about the insider issue, and the third one you mentioned in terms of like preparing the curriculum, the subtle nuances. Yeah.
So I probably will respond in more than 3 points. One was I began to reach out to professional colleagues for guidance. So if I saw a posting, I would send my resume to them for proofreading, more to see if I really targeted the skills that the job asked for. Okay. From home in Jamaica, you have this long resume saying all your accomplishments and all your achievements. Here, they seem to have been more interested in targeted skill sets. Mm-hmm. Instead of submitting your full resume, you would do one that spoke to the skills that were required in the posting. So I would reach out to my professional colleagues to just give an eye on what I have done. Mm-hmm. I also took advantage of the professional mentorship through the newcomers program. Like I told you, the professor.
Welcome Canada, right? Was it the Welcome Canada?
Yes, Welcome Canada, yes. They had a mentorship program, so they paired me with a professor.
Nice.
I took advantage of that. I also resolved to search strategically for relevant openings. And in my spirit, I decided that I wasn't going to give up. Even if I had 100 no's, I was going to keep applying until I got a job that I wanted. Mm-hmm. I went to some interviews that were very disappointing, and I felt like I should shoot myself for making the most useless mistakes. But then I realized later that I was so nervous and so anxious that it actually impeded my ability to perform. I also learned to value my work, because back in Jamaica, you're usually quite humble. You want you want your work to speak for you. You don't go around saying, oh, I did this and I did that. But I realize in Canada, you really have to
exactly. You have to
almost blow your own horns, which
right.
conflicted with my personal style. I'm more the kind of person who, even if I did a fantastic thing, I say, oh, that was awesome. I'll say, oh, it was, Franklin helped me. Like, I don't feel like you have to share your successes.
Right.
And that for me was probably a bigger obstacle because I never want to blow my own trumpet. Even if I did 80% of the work, I tend to want to give credit to the person who did 20%.
Right. Right.
Now, culturally, if you did that, the other person say, oh, but Judith did most of the work. But I found that sometimes you do that and people just take the credit. I'm like, so that, to be honest, I think I'm still learning because I'm not really one for blowing my own horns.
Right, right.
Also, I chose to speak my desire into being. So when I was working in the supermarket, when some young girls would be really rude in the way they spoke to me, I would say to myself, you know why you're here. I just want to get out to understand the Canadian psyche. Right. I'm not doing this supermarket work because this is what I want to do. But you will not believe at how much exposure I got from that and how much God used it to prepare me to deal with the regular average person.
Right, right.
So that I could resolve conflicts with customers who were a bit difficult. I could take initiative and say to my supervisor, this happened, this is what I did. I think you should handle this. Right? They gave me an opportunity to explain. And the biggest thing, and I will have to say this, after 3 months, I got 10% of everything we bought in that store. So my family was able to be fed and clothed in an amazing way. Nice. So though it was a minimum wage job and took its toll on my back, it provided for a family and gave me an opportunity to see Canada firsthand rather than from a distance, right? Right. Also, because I chose to speak my desire into being, all those talks of 5 to 10 years to get in your profession, I always say within 2 years I'll be in my profession.
Nice.
God did it. So I believe that word has power.
Yeah.
Also, interestingly, by the time I resigned from that job as cashier at the supermarket, many of my colleagues said, Judy, we knew something was different about you.
Oh.
That was like, and because a lot of them are immigrants, I know that they're very highly educated people from their countries. Right. But they're just settled in that supermarket job because they probably got tired of trying to get into their professions. And I resolved that I was never going to stay there. Right. So you have to have a drive that keeps your vision. Right. And that when discouragement comes, you don't give up.
Remind us. Yes. Yes. Wow.
I'm grateful to God that my life is a testimony. So now I encourage newcomers. I say, don't be discouraged. You'll be turned down so often, but don't lose the vision. And if you take a survival job, that's what it is, survival job. Use it as an opportunity to understand the culture and the people, but don't settle for that.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really very beautiful. There are just a number of things, like I want to spotlight. You talked a lot about mindset, right? Mindset's really very huge. And also having motivation, having your why, and also reminding yourself of the why, especially when things get tough. I think that's really what drives us through the difficult times. And you shared a lot about that as well, which is awesome. And talking about the way you handled the biggest issue, or one of the biggest issues that immigrants face, which is the Canadian experience. I think you pointed out that you had to look for a temporary job, which in so many ways helped you a lot to understand the Canadian culture, right? And you also tried to extend your network, right? Extend the network. Okay, that's really very good. Was there something else that you?
I also made an effort to connect with those from Jamaica.
Okay.
Who are now in the profession, because there are some insider experiences that a regular Canadian will not be able to provide for you because they don't have to navigate the challenges that you have to.
Right.
you have to connect with people before you who have navigated similar challenges. So it's networking at a different level. So you want to network at the professional level, so higher ed, and they want to network at the level of other Caribbean or African people who came ahead of you who are now in the profession.
Right, just like you're doing right now. You're providing some salient points. Okay.
Totally different from a Canadian who was born here and raised here. They will have no idea of the challenges that you are navigating as an immigrant. However, I want to quickly give credit to my colleagues at Mohawk in the Center for Teaching and Learning, because when my contract was coming to an end, I told you I became a bit nervous.
Yeah. And
one of them said to me, Judith, you were lucky you even had a 1-year contract. I came in here on a 3-month contract. Wow. As a Canadian. He says, I guarantee you there will be openings. You will not go away. Right? And that was, for me, was so endearing, because all of my colleagues, I felt like they were rooting for me as soon as I was in. It was like, never mind, you're going to get something, never mind. And eventually I got a full-time position. And so I believe that they served as the wings beneath my wings, so that I could do that for somebody else. So anyone who's in a temporary position, I say, just keep doing your best. Your best. I was coming from 2 hours away, and I would get to the office at 7:20 in the morning.
My God.
When it was supposed to open at 8:30, because I just knew that I had to do 160%. I mean, that's my personality anyway.
Right.
But if you are diligent, even when I was a cashier, I was diligent in what I was doing. If you just have that personality that you want to excel, God will make the opportunities come. And once you have your foot in the door and they see the value of your work, then other openings will come that will make it more rewarding.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that's really so good. Yeah, I think something that I'm also hearing a lot from your description is getting to do something that you're very passionate about, because if you are passionate about it, you'll be able to do that 2 hours. You'll be able to do that 2 hours, right? And you'll be able to, and also if you know your why, you'll be able to tolerate all of the, the not so good things people do to you, right? So knowing your why and following your heart, doing something that you're very passionate about, those are really very essential.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing, right?
That's it.
Okay, that's amazing. That's amazing. So moving on.
So sorry, just before you go, you had said, how did I deal with the issue of, did you ask what I did with the issue of lack of Canadian experience, or you just recapping from the previous one?
Oh, yeah. So yes, I asked for an extension. I think you mentioned a few more points as well. Or did you have something else to add?
I was just going to say, so sometimes people will say, oh, go and do this and go and do that. You have to remember who you are, what you're about, right? So people want to go and study nursing because there's a demand for nursing.
Right.
That's not who you are. Yeah, you might make money, but you will not be happy, right? So I want to encourage people to stay focused on who they really are authentically. Now, if you want to do something else to survive, fine, but remember that ultimately you are who you are in its entirety. So if you just want to make money, you might make the money and not be happy. And if that is the case, then you're not adding value to what you're doing. You're just making money. So you want to stay focused. So at one point, when it was really getting rough, I thought maybe I should just go and do a course in early childhood.
Yeah.
After all, it will still be education, and I can just have a daycare in my home and create employment for myself, because this thing is really getting. And I came this close. I thought, I really want to go back to, I'm teaching teachers who are teaching high school, and now I have to go back and learn early childhood. Do I really have, right? So there was some kind of, and then I talked to a friend and she said, you definitely don't want to go there, because most $22 an hour with a doctorate, please, no, right? So sometimes when you articulate what your thoughts are, and you have really good friends, they will tell you the truth. Some will just say, go, everybody works in factory. Not me. I didn't come here to work. I'm not looking down on factory job, mind you. I'm just, that's not for me. So you have to be careful that whoever is assigned, whoever is providing advice, is coming from a place of experience, not their own experience to now cloud yours.
Right.
But an honest opinion that gives you the freedom to go and think about it and make your own choices.
Exactly.
Do not ever feel cornered to do what people tell you to do. Because if that's what they did, it probably was right for them.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that it is right for you.
Right. Right. Wow. No, that's a very, very salient point for sure, because obviously we're all different, right? And what works for one person may not necessarily work for the other person. I think it's just very valuable for us to gather information from different sources and then figuring out which one speaks the most to me and which one can I follow. So I think that's a very salient point. Thank you very much for sharing that.
Yes.
Yeah. So like just moving on, and I know we already touched on the different obstacles and how you're able to surmount them. So if we were to go back in time, right? What would you say are 3 things you wish you had done differently, or what are 3 things you would have done differently to either land your ideal job maybe like faster, or get something maybe higher, if there's anything like that?
If the truth be told, one thing I think I would do is I'll probably manage our timing better.
Okay.
The time we landed.
Okay.
So we had landed in summer because we wanted the children to finish school and be a break. But I realized much later that hiring for the fall happens around March, April.
Earlier, yes.
Earlier in the year, right?
Yeah.
So if I landed in July, in my head, I thought, oh, in July, August, they'll be recruiting for September. No, that happened already.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I think I would probably have managed our timing better. I'll probably have resigned or taken extended leave and come ahead of the family to sort out myself and then give them up till the summer to come up. Right? My timing would have been better managed. Another challenge that another thing I probably would have done was we had a lot of challenges with accommodation. And because we were not sure where the jobs were, or where the jobs could be, we settled in a place where we felt was safe and comfortable for our son to be able to go to. He had been admitted at University of Ontario Institute of Technology, which is now Ontario Technology University. It's now on Tech U, right? So we wanted to be where he could go to school from home.
Right.
Because we felt like in a new country, we didn't want him to just go and stay on campus by himself. We still wanted to be able to provide the emotional and parental support. So finding accommodation where one lives is very important, because there will be attractions to the kinds of jobs that you want based on where you live. So that's I probably would still land in Whitby, because then all the colleges and universities were around us anyway, and that was my desired job. The third thing I definitely would do would be to join Canadian professional associations even ahead of landing.
Oh, yeah?
So because in higher ed, we go to conferences all the time, we network with people. I could have chosen to join professional associations in Canada even before landing, because that would have expanded my networking base ahead of my fully coming to land. So those are definitely things that I would do differently if I had an opportunity to do it over. Okay,
awesome. That's great. I'm just going to extend and touch on the third points you made, because it's actually very similar to the next question. So you talked about those groups, right? So basically a community of professionals. So for teachers or people in your space, education, which ones are the top, and where would you have checked them out? Will it be like a website, their website, or where?
It's multiple. So right now, I'm a member of the Curriculum Developers Affinity Group of Canada, right?
Oh, nice.
It would have been difficult to join that one because you have to be a member of one of the 24 colleges in Canada to join. But I know people who were members who may have given me opportunities to join their lunch and learns or some conferences where I could have made such an impact. I was a member of the Association for the Supervision of Curriculum Developers. That's international in the US and everywhere.
Nice.
I already was, yes. So there, I think CDAG, the Curriculum Developers Affinity Group, and CDOG, the curriculum, the college's degree of, so there were opportunities that I could have, and higher ed. I was a member of higher ed, but I could have zoned in my activities more to Canadian colleges rather than US colleges, which was really more dominant in higher ed.
Right.
So those kinds, but I think even more important, the communities that I eventually got a lot of benefit from was Jamaican professionals who came ahead of me. Right? And the Jamaican High Commission provided such a support. It's amazing that if you can find those from your home country who have navigated the system ahead of you, drawing on their experiences was such a huge encouragement as I tried to navigate the new terrain. So those were some of the reasons why I didn't go and do early child, because somebody said, is that what you really want to do? Maybe for retirement, like maybe when you retire, you can do that, but right now that's not what you want to do. So talking to professionals from your home country. Also, when we landed the newcomers orientation thing, and they had this work, almost like preparing you for work in Canada. About the name, we met people from so many other countries, the Caribbean, Asia, Africa. So we could exchange ideas on how to do what. And if I was job searching and I saw something that I felt fit somebody else, I would send them an email to say, did you see this? Right. So we became a support for one another. That was also very,
that's really very good. And that's also part of the Welcome Canada program you mentioned. Okay, so I don't know if you recall, what the website is. That like welcomecanada.ca or something? I need to make reference to that. You don't remember? If you remember, that's fine. I'll check it out.
Yeah, I could check it out and get to you. I think when we landed, as they were processing us at the airport, they gave us a package.
Oh, that one, yes.
Read everything you had to do and told you where to work for what. So it was that package that we took to the center that was closest to us. So if it was something I searched for myself, it could still be in my head. But anyway, that's how it works.
Okay, yeah, I'll check online. I'm hoping that they have like a website where those information also.
Canada.ca or something, or there's something canada.gic.ca.
Oh, okay. I'll check it out. It's fine.
I can pick it up if you want.
I'll check it out. Don't worry. It's fine. Okay. All right. That sounds awesome. And in terms of the cultural differences, do you have any? Did you have? Let me see. What are like top 2 of the cultural differences that you noticed coming into Canada?
So because I'm zoning it into the professional culture, there are huge differences in the workplace.
Right.
Okay? So one of such is a relative informality with which people relate here. So in Canada, I was Dr. Orogun. My students will not call me by my first name. We could call each other by first name only when we were there. If a student was in the space, I was referring to all of my colleagues in their professional designations, and they were referring to me as such. Right here, the president of my college, we call him by his first name. The students call us by first names. That was really difficult for me to adjust. I had a difficult calling my president by his first name. Right? Because they're coming from where. I mean, Prof, my president at UTech was a really, really nice, cool guy, but we still call him Professor Morrison because he was the president. So that was the biggest shock, calling people by their first names, from students through to the president and down the other way. That took a bit of adjusting, but I soon found out that calling people by their first names was not equivalent to disrespect. That was the deal breaker for me. Because I think we do it at home as a sign of respect.
Right.
But here you can still call people by their first names and still respect them. So that was the biggest cultural shift that I had to make on the job.
Yeah. And I think when I believe there may have been some form of studies to back this up maybe, but when you call someone just by their first name, doesn't that also make you more open to the person?
More accessible, yes.
Exactly. You don't see the person like an authority figure, and you can actually relate very closely with the person. That's actually correct, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And of course, in education, relationships is the key. So if you can't relate, then having said that, I really do miss my students in Jamaica. We had such a rapport
Right.
Like I said, when you introduced me, I find my motherhood and teacherhood are so closely aligned.
Right.
I don't think I have that same kind of relationship here. No.
Mm-hmm.
In Jamaica, I could really get into my students' life a bit
Mm-hmm.
more
Mm.
because I could take them as my children.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Here, there are boundaries, personal boundaries you have to be careful how you cross. So that is another cultural
Mm-hmm.
norm to be aware of. Yes.
Right. Right. Oh, wow. That's awesome. Really very, very good. Thanks for sharing. And just to wrap things up, would there be any other, information, insights that you would like to leave to someone watching here and how to, get them prepared and equipped to land their ideal position as an immigrant in Canada?
I would probably do a very quick summary or highlights. So
Okay.
one, prior to landing, get your credentials evaluated and translated to Canadian equivalent. Okay. If you want, I can send you links that you can put at the bottom of this video for those who want to opportunity.
Yeah.
The second will be to connect with professionals who landed ahead of you. If you don't know anybody, reach out to anyone from your home country who you know is in the new space and ask them to touch base with anyone who can help to guide you.
Right.
I find it something people are happy to do. I do it a lot because I benefited from it and I want to be able to provide that support for others. Be willing to take many no's before you get your eventual yes. Do not allow the number of no's you get. Oh, thanks for your application. We don't have a position for you at this time. We will reach out to you. They're not going to reach out to you. They're just trying to soften the blow. They're not going to reach out to you. But just get ready for yourself. Know that you have many no's before you get an eventual yes. So don't take it personal. Everybody has budgets and preferences that they're working with. Keep a positive self-image. Align yourselves with people who would encourage you. Do not look for losers or people who have been discouraged and go and set up camp with them. You don't want a pity party. You know why you came. Pursue it honestly and with diligence, and you will get results very soon. Also, try to improve yourself. Read up, and today it's even better than when we landed 8 years ago. Now, literally anything you want to learn, you can learn on YouTube.
Exactly.
You can improve yourself. There are resources that you can download and read and improve your knowledge in the space that you want to occupy. If you need to take a short certificate course just to upskill yourself, do so. However, do not feel you have to go back to university for 4 years and go and amass more student loan just because you want to get your job. Yourself all over again and then be frustrated at the end because you still don't get where you want to get. Be patient, be diligent, be focused, work towards what you want, and find hope. For me, my hope was in Christ Jesus, because I felt that we prayed before all of this happened. We felt God's hand was in it. And if we were diligent and faithful, then God would take us where he wants us to be. And by the grace of God, we are glad that we came.
Amazing.
It took me less than 2 years to get into my choice profession, which is testament to the fact that it is doable. And I'm sure we can find people who got in even faster. And there are some people who will never get in because they kept listening to the naysayers. They allowed discouragement to get the better of them. Find strength in your family, your faith, whatever your support system is. Take advantage of it. And remember that every advice you're given is coming from that person's experience.
Right.
Their experience does not necessarily have to be yours, especially if it's negative.
Right. Whew. Oh my goodness, that's awesome. I can actually sense the passion for teaching and for just sharing with people right here, right now. And thank you so much for those valuable insights. I'm sure that people watching would have a lot to take away and also to apply. And I'm sure that they'll.
And if any questions follow afterwards, you can shoot the questions my way. By the grace of God, we will provide as much support as we can.
Right.
As we need it.
Right. Awesome. That's really very, very good. Yeah, I'll be sure to leave the contact details in the description for the video. If that's okay with you. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much. Okay.
This is my email contact, not my professional email. I'll send you the one you can use. You don't want non-professional work plugging my professional email. So I'll send you my regular emails that I use for such.
Awesome. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Judith Orogun, for your time. I really, really appreciate, and it's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Same here, and all the best for all you do for international students, and even this initiative to now help people navigate the Canadian work landscape a lot.
Yeah.
Is probably more valuable than you will ever understand, because you don't even know who will benefit from it. But just doing what you're doing, that's good. And let's trust God that ultimately it will serve a good purpose.
Amen. Thank you so much, Ma. I really appreciate
it. Take care.
Okay. So this is Franklin here. I hope you found that interview session very insightful, just like I did. So to get a collection of more ideas, recommendation, and even a guide on how you can land your dream or ideal job as an immigrant to Canada, be sure to check out my new ebook. It's titled Crack the Dream Job Code. So for more information about the book and to get a link, see the description of the video below. Thank you.